Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the connoisseur of fine beats and sultry, hypnotizing sounds, the manic melody metronome himself, the man who keeps shaking and rattling dance floors in all the right places, Mr. Theo Parrish. How has Bali been to you? Has it been kind to you? How does it resonate with you, during these, visits to Bali?
I jumped at the chance to come back to Bali again because there were very few places on the planet that I played that you felt that the people that came to hear you were not like you, but very much like you. And I go a lot of places in the world, go to Europe, I go to Japan, I go to the States, all over the place. What I find that's the interesting part that gets translated very easily here is that it is an understood understanding of, without knowing where this music is coming from, it's felt and known where it comes from. And very few places that I take the music to knows where it's coming from. And so that intrinsic understanding is clear. And y'all fishermen are bad as fuck. Like the most badass fisherman I've ever seen in my life. Saw this guy come in with my lady. We were walking on the beach last time we were here. And fisherman was coming in. Had to go about 10 knots. Didn't slow down. Ran it right up on the beach. Hopped off of it in one fell swoop. Dove back in the water to dust himself off. Came out. It's like, what? It's gangster. It's gangster.
Well, we do have that expression in Bali.
What is it called?
It's called sing can can.
Sing can can.
Yes, sing can can.
Sing can can. Yeah, it was.
Sing can can means no worries.
Yeah.
When you're in Bali, it's always no worries.
Yeah, sing can can.
I mean, that's such a great experience for you. One strong point is the openness of Bali to new ideas, new people, new philosophies, and foreign influences that make us, focus on the betterment of the world. We share the same roots, and could you please, enlighten us, how, Bali, which will come back to your roots, resonate with you in terms of what you have been doing for decades.
What I have seen, what I do understand when I travel these places, is that the music that I play and that I've been experiencing, and that I've experienced since the beginning of it. We're talking about the music formerly known as house music, and I say formerly because now what I was calling this music, we never called house music per se. That was a term that other people used outside to define it. Just like jazz, just like blues, just like reggae, just like every term that is always put upon from an outsider's view, from people that usually don't participate in it directly in an emotional or a spiritual sense. We just went to hear those DJs. We didn't call it house music until we heard it. I guess so. Yeah, house music. And so no one can ever really say, well, where did that music come from? Where was the warehouse? Well, it was because it was house music. It was in someone's basement. So it was the powerhouse. When no one can seem to agree, and that's the point. If you were there, you didn't need to agree left or right on what someone else was calling what it was that you were doing anyway. So when you go to a place like, say, Germany, and they're playing deep house music, and then you show up and the often the expectation is you have to live out their deep house fantasies. And so by you showing up being yourself, you're bound to give them something that they've never experienced before. But whether or not it lives up to their ideas of what they think you should be is a very different thing. What I'm saying is that unlike those scenarios, that was usurped on an energetic level by the way that men conducted, dealing with people with the grace that Balinese people carry. There's a grace that's recognized with black people. I recognize that at home. And that same grace, the grace of, carrying a tray in the heat to a bunch of people that are sneering at them and smiling their best smile. There's a grace there. And there was a grace in, there's a grace in knowing that the music that you saw coming up had no other faces in the crowd, in the management, in the DJ, in the booking agency, in any of the places that you would look, any of the manpower put, all your reflection, all your people, all of it, from the outset, and then to watch it grow, expand, and then now, it's you barely see your own reflection in it. Can be a harrowing thing, and you're going, well, what happened along the way, and is this a good or a bad thing? And you can't judge it because music moves. And the second you start saying, oh, it's this and that, then you're starting to hurt it a little bit. So you have to look at where you find the bright moments. Does it penetrate these frames that we have, these limited frames? Does it penetrate the frames, And so that's the beauty of certain places like New York. It's a place I play called Nowadays. Nowadays, and if you glimpse, sometimes it has looked like Ernie Barnes' painting of Sugar Shack, but all white people. The sway of the bodies, the connection to the music, it's there. It would blow some people's minds. But at the same right, you always recognize it when there's not one instant of hesitation between what you're playing and its understanding of who's in front of you. And that's what I'm illustrating here.
I mean, we do believe that you're not confined in terms of the genreifications. Yeah, I grew up in the formative years of the electronic music. We never realized, during the time I was way back down south, in Australia, and we listened to the pioneers, Frankie Knuckles, Ewan Atkins there, Larry Heard, and then for us that was the founding fathers, that really envisioned something beautiful, and then came definitely yourself. And many names that during the time in the 90s we can only know just because of the printed label on the vinyl.
It's artifacts.
It is true. And then we would be accustomed to the plethora of names, the influx of DJs and producers. It made the art form itself global. Yeah. So in that case, as someone that not only has been part of it, but also shaped the art form, how would you, perceive the development of the global electronic music scene? And, how would you see, this changing eras, and how would you feel about it?
Well, it's a continuum, every single era produces its own musical take on it, and there's always a new way of presenting music. And more importantly, what I see being changed and what I see being adhered to in cycles is the idea of what a presenter, what a DJ is. And that doesn't really change per city. That doesn't change in each country until recently. And we're talking about the last 5 years recently.
Okay.
The game was, and as far as I'm still concerned, is the mixer, and 2 turntables, and then one way to play something other than what was available on wax. That's been how it's been the majority of my career. Now you take that idea and you have all the names that come and go. Because then I would add in names like Sadar Bahar, Ron Hardy, I would add in Jesse Saunders, I would add in Ken Collier, I would add in all the great New York DJs that we all know so over and over and over and over and over again. We can say their names forever and ever and ever. But then there's the ones we don't know out of New York, like Troy Parrish, the ones like, unknowns, the knowns and unknowns, and the guys that don't make careers out of this but are just as bad and just as deadly as the people that do, often better. Because they were able to keep it pure, they didn't have to make money off of it, they didn't have to kind of use it to pay bills. But the game was always one of those, 2 of those, maybe one of these. Now this used to be a reel, and then it turned into a tape deck, then it turned into a CD player, then it turned into a way to use digital files. Then it became, and now you get, this is one of the older ones now. You can just, they got ones that search the internet and you can Spotify your set right on the spot. They got those. What's the point? And I'm pretty sure it won't be long before you'll be able to walk into a club and get an AI set out of the shit. And so, but I don't think we really have to worry about that. But to go back to what you're saying, I'm being meandering again. When you have these different people that can do this thing, you always had someone that wanted to add other elements to it. And often because they never mastered doing this thing. So there's certain people you name on the list that production-wise, so I would contend this, there are producers, there are DJs, there are musicians, and then there are people who can do 2 or 3 of them, but I've rarely seen one person be able to master all 3 of those things, be as good a DJ as they are a producer and a performer of the music that they're making. I've seen people play games. I've seen people set up computers and sit back and pretend. I've seen people put on mix CDs and step back and play games. I've seen people put other people's music out and put their name on it to get DJ gigs. So a lot of stuff has happened within the last 5-10 years that's kind of usurped the idea of what a real DJ actually is. So a lot of these people don't deserve that name. Now, it's up to every single one of us to decide who that is, because no one makes the rules. That's the issue. That's the beauty in the bird, that it's independent. So you can make the rules up. Who says what I say makes sense? But I know in terms of when I go back to Chicago, I'm playing with some of the most, in my opinion, skilled DJs in the world. Simply because the rigidity and the amount of competition was so high at the time that I started and remained that way to this day. You had to be skilled enough to play syncopated music. That means music set to a metronome. You had to be skilled enough to play music that wasn't set to a metronome, all the way into jazz. You had to be able to move from both of them, vinyl only. Anybody that knows it's much harder to play turntables than it does to play these now. Everybody knows. Way more different things to go wrong. I'll explain why. Each one of these has a motor in it. The motor is not necessarily perfect. We won't do this. Okay. The motor can go wrong. That has a wobble. The pitch has a string on the bottom of it. That can go wrong. That's a wobble.
Even with direct motors, huh?
Yep. Tone arm can go bad. That's a wobble. Is your tone arm straight? It has a lean on it. That's a problem. This part of it, raises and lowers, is that straight? Then you got the weight. That's another issue. Then the quality of your wax. Then is it balanced? Does it have a lean like this? Does it lean like this? Does it have a lean like this? Is your cartridge straight? So all of those things happen in good conditions, and then that's a sound check. Now you got a full row. Now you got sweating bodies. Now you got dust bunnies on your needle. Now, you might have perfect blends at home, but can you recover from your record skipping in the middle of it going into the next one where you got a whole crowd of people standing at you? Yeah, the headphones get real hot. So, now granted, these have their own issues too. Everybody put in a chipstick, they burn it at home, but then you get to the party, doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Or you got the one that's connected to the other one and connected to the other one, but it's reading over here, but it won't read over there. What you gonna do? I still contend the records are more, as delicate as these are, you'll never get a file not read or not loading signal out of this, and you'll never get a place where you'll lose your chipstick. You'll always know where your records are to play. So, in my opinion, that lineage of people that can play, a lot of the greats were playing on the most unstable, but in certain ways, the most certain. You put a record on, that needle's gonna read it. Now, if it reads it well, has to do with the maintenance of it, but it's gonna read it. And the mastery of those techniques and the mastery of being able to use a third item to bring in things that only you as a selector know about. Treats, so really, meat and potatoes and the spices. Yeah. And the ability to use what everyone has access to here. Everyone can get those records. They already come out most times, with the exception of acetates and special presents and things like that. White labels every once in a while. Those are specialized situations. But the average DJ, you can give 300 DJs the same records, they'll come up with different things. That's the beauty of that part. But then when you have these special situations, you got something else. All those people you named, they all have an ability within musicianship, production, and playing. Some all, but rarely all three. What I've seen, the biggest changes is technology and thus the attitude. So now we have DJs that think that if they've mastered this, they've mastered it. No, they haven't. Because there's two little tricks on here. The quantize button.
Are you skipping the sync button?
Yeah, that bullshit. and when you, with the new ones, I call them the Teslas. With the Teslas, you can waveform read. So now if you match the waveform to the other waveform, you're not listening anymore to mix, you're now visually mixing. That's bullshit too. So I would contend, I want to get back to having mixing contests. Start making people use turntables and see who can hold blends the longest without the quantize button. Using little techniques like this to slow it down and speed it up and all those little things, and not just the pitch. Those were signs. And then can you repair a tire on the fly? Can you fix a tire? What's fixing a tire? Do you got the balls to fix that shit while it's broken? Can you get that motherfucker in there while you playing? All those unknown skills that come along with just experience, that, and not to scare any young jocks, that you will learn. Your blends are perfect now, but you're in perfect environments. Can you do it when somebody at home is hurting? Can you play? Can you make that decision between that gig that you were booked to play and then some tragic happens in your life? Do you do it or not? You know, that one that's paying you a lot of money, but you know it's a bullshit gig. And that never stops. That never stops. Mm-hmm. Where you know, man, I need this money. I don't wanna wear tux and do the wedding, but damn, I need to get this money. Because this is what I do. Because I'm a professional. Because I don't have enough arrogance to think that life is gonna stop because of my perceived standards of who I think I am. You know, you can't be afraid to get down and dirty with the art. But you can't be afraid to take the arrows to preserve it.
Truly, I respect you, your angle about the mastery of the technology itself.
Yeah.
But what I was, referring to is the school of thoughts, because you can try, you can deny, but you are one of that is, excelling and pushing the school of thought of electronic music, the genre itself.
But every single one of the what I'm illustrating in that is the technique represents a school of thought.
Yes.
This is a school of thought.
Definitely.
And of the people you name going forward, all those people, all those names, we've gotten to a point where the school of thought has gotten dissipated because there's nothing to believe in like it used to be. This was solid. You could believe in it because of its limitations.
Yeah.
And now we're getting to a place where we're having so many limitations that nobody gives a shit. And it's hard to find where new talent lies when there isn't enough limitation and dedication to practice. Pure practice, but limited practice. What is it that is interesting to you? Hone it. Not enough hours? Make more hours, more skill. What's that one tempo you haven't mastered? What's those two tempos you haven't mastered together? Oh, you can mix two of them? How about three? Things like that. And I would say that they all represents different schools of thought. And once you get to that part of it, you can then start to have different ideas of, somebody's sitting up and pretending to be a DJ and pointing at the sky and having a light show and shit like that. That's not what this is. That's not this. If the name of the game is keep the crowd moving and talk to them through it, then all we're doing is talking about tempo and texture as differences. Because you can go anywhere from a Frankie Knuckles to a DJ T1000 or a Stingray. And the tempos are flying everywhere, but the idea might be still the same thing. The ethics, music that works within these confines. Yeah, you could reapply it and put it behind commercial in a football game, sure. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about where the creativity goes and where it stems from. So you could say, I would say, without doubt, the two cities these two things came from is Chicago and Detroit, period. Techno came from Detroit. Let's be clear. House music came from Chicago. Let's be clear. Now, when that changed was when the marketing of that music started to shift, and we starting decade. Now, we're talking about mid-'80s.
Yes.
Now, we could even say 85-ish. What was happening in America was the end and tail end of segregation, Reaganomics, the beginning of crack. So you could also add this in. Let's get to the producers. Detroit, Juan Atkins, the producer, main producer of techno. In Chicago, Larry Heard, the main producer of house music. Electro, the main producer being Egyptian Lover out on the West Coast. That was a bridge to hip hop. Hip hop had its own main producers. So what we're talking about is the Black community having a whole revolution happening around about 85. Coincidentally, when Ronald Reagan, I believe, was in office. So if you're looking at the distance between where music shifts and where it becomes these different languages with these different cities that then create these different cyclical movements over and over and over and over again. So Larry Heard spawns Glen Underground. Glen Underground brings out the Guidance stuff brings out, and so on. So isn't it? It starts going. Detroit is different. And then people moving around in between there. A lot of times those New York, Chicago guys go out to New York, that germinates out there. When they were more interested in freestyle, which has some crossover points with cuts called like Hard Times. Hard Times is called Hard Times. It's a boogie record. It was really big in Chicago, really big in Detroit, and huge in New York. And so it's these cross-pollinations of black culture that creates these cycles that keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and create many lanes and many lanes and many lanes and many lanes. That's why I'm saying it's almost impossible to track, but you know it when you see it. You know when someone's dedicated themselves to it, and now we're past the roots of it, and those are the pathways that they're back from. Now we're out here, we're all the way in Dubai with it. We're all the way in Alaska with it. We're all over the world with it, right? But you can recognize when someone has studied and understood the ethic of a thing. I need to dance. I need to get something off of myself. I need to create. So let me dedicate myself to it so that can be anything from performing to DJing it to making it.
So in that case, please enlighten us, as someone that has, pushed boundaries, shaped the, not only the school of the scene, but your own, your own signature with it. So what is the part that is still preserved? And then what have, definitely you in this case, transformed? And with the rise of the scene itself being global, what has been lost?
A bit of the brother and sisterhood has been lost, I'd say. And I mean human brother and sisterhood. There's a lot less care of one another when we go into these spaces to enjoy the music itself. I find that there's a lot more people that are coming for reasons outside of musicality, which is fine. You need pieces of that. Like I found that, like, okay, the bigger the space, you're gonna need. I call them the cornballs. Okay, we need the cornballs. Not everybody in the room can be a music head. We need some cornballs. We need some high heels and some shiny shirts. We need them. We need somebody by bottle service disco. We need that shit because it keeps the lights on in the fucking club, okay? Don't diss them because they showed up and they standing in the corner and doing a goofy dance. It's okay. Let them do their dance. Just nudge them over to the corner and tell them not to flash the camera in my fucking face. Just go over to the corner. But they can be there too. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay.
Request,
And this is what we need to do. The one who comes with them, the really drunk girl, help her when she gets drunk in the bathroom. Don't let those other assholes take her home to the car because she don't know no better. Like, that's what I'm talking about, the heart in the dance. Because we'll diss those folks, but like, we'll be mad if the promoter is closed next week or the place is closed and that beautiful system they had ain't open. Because we need that, because we're not coming in there like that. We're not spending what we already on the list. We're already on the list. We're getting in. So we're not gonna, we have to care a little bit about people that maybe aren't that fucking cool and hope that they get a chance to get converted. Because maybe you play that tune and all of a sudden they're going crazy. But maybe your so-called DJ friends are too busy standing over in corner like, I didn't like the way you mixed that in. Maybe they're too busy doing that shit to really like have a good fucking time. How many DJs that actually cut a rug? Like fucking dance till they cut. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but in Detroit, most DJs are way too cool to be dancing in your set if they really respect you.
Yep.
Then they're not gonna dance to you.
Yeah, understood.
It's kind of fucked up, right? It's just fucked up. But they don't know. But it's the person that doesn't know you. It's that person that has never heard your track before. It's that goofy motherfucker over there. I love this song. Like, he's gonna go buy your record. He's gonna say, that guy's fucking cool. And next time he comes back, he got all his friends with him, and they're like, why are we here? But he keeps coming back, and next thing you know, Next thing you know, the motherfucker opens a club or some shit, you know, or he's you never know. Like you don't know, and so like that the human part is what we need to do more of. Or there's that one kid who just always a little too wild, just keeps getting fucked up every comes, and that's because he has a dark thing happening at home. Get him some water. Get her some water. Get her out the bath. Get him out the bath. They ain't got to take everybody in the bathroom. Get him some water. Go, really. Look, I'll get you another drink. Gin and tonic. No, it ain't as water. No, that's the old trick. Gin and tonic looks just like water. Get a lime. Give the motherfucker some sobriety. Because we need people to survive the night out as well. Right? And okay, we got the man, woman, and everything else thing going on at the club. Everybody's trying to fuck each other. That's fine. Okay? But if you are part of the production, if you're part of the music, you have to decide if you're going to exercise that part of your life publicly, because you're public facing. So you have to act equitably. Don't be fighting with your significant other at the place where everyone else is trying to have a good time. Nobody want to see that shit. Nobody want to see your private parts on the dance floor either. Just don't. Me personally, I don't like to see people take their fucking shirt off, TJ. That's not for me. But if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But let's remember, if this is about music and expression and dancing, all the thing that goes on between you and your loved one is personal. Now you're making it an ego show. There's sex clubs for that. Go do that there. People are here trying to do musical things. And so it's a responsibility thing. Now, granted, you got some people coming in doing whatever the fuck they want to do, and that's what they're going to do because we're all adults, right? But let's not forget, if we're at a show where we're all ages, no, we're not all fucking adults. So remember that too. Remember whether you're playing a show that is for kids, that is for adults, and making sure that everyone's safe. Because you want safety at the dance. You want safety. You want everybody to experience it, get home, and get the best out of it. And that's the only way to ensure that shit is take it that seriously. Sound. Stop going to places with shitty sound. That's simple. Shut them down. Just don't go. Tell that person who's performing that, hey man, I loved it, but not going there. Why? Because I need my ears to work tomorrow. I need the sound to sound right. I need you to sound good. Or bad, so I can know not to come check you out. But let's be a little bit more respectful of those things. So these things are shifting. The care, the cleanliness of the venue too. Make sure they sweep and mop. That's a real simple thing, but a lot of places they'll take your money and they'll put a thing into place, but they won't clean it up. Make sure it's right for everybody being there. It's those human things that I see changing more than anything else. On the other side of it, on the production and the performance side of what I see changing, I can't blame it all on technology because this was the most technologically advanced thing at one point. I'm just stuck in a certain time where between these two places. It's the laziness of the selector. It's the laziness of the performer. How much practice are you going to put forth into your gift, so-called, or your talent, or your hobby? It's also your job to decide whether it's one of those things. If it is a hobby for you, stop lying and pretending it's some gift. You know when a gifted motherfucker walks in a room, get out their way, they need to do it. They may not make it if they don't do it. If you're playing with something that someone takes seriously, humble yourself, get out their fucking way. And if they're younger than you, you got no right to stand in their fucking way. Help them. They'll never forget it. They'll never forget it, but they will forget you if you got in their way because they will blow past you. And they'll remember when your hobbyist ass was standing in front of their gift. And that's something that's self-evident. You see it. And everyone has to realize something that not everyone is going to be catching everything at the same time. All the opportunities are going to change. The people you see going up, you see going down. And there's always ups and downs. No matter how talented, no matter how gifted you are, there's that part for all the gifted, or the people who think they're gifted. It's a brutal thing to be told that your gift isn't shit, that it doesn't work, and all because people didn't show up that night. Do you have the strength of character to perform and deal with the ego thing that comes along with it? Because let's be clear about that as well. DJs, hands down, and selectors, hands down, are the most egotistical motherfuckers relating to music out here. Let's be clear about this. Why? I get to play this song, then this one, then this one, that one, then that one, then that one, and maybe that one, then that one.
And you can choose whatever part you want to play.
Then the pitch and the EQ, if I decide to start doing all that shit, it is the most egotistical relationship to music compared to, like, say, a musician who's in a band. Because now you got some people who actually have to communicate with other people, know their instrument, and know the crowd, and communicate with the crowd all at the same time, and still be in key and in pocket. Fuck out of here. You get to put a record on and go, fuck out of here. So understand these different things. And if you're in the studio, you're in the studio. Controlled environment. I'm gonna expect excellence out of your fucking record. Don't give me a boring record. And don't give each other boring records. You had a controlled environment. Do something no one has ever, do something you've never done before. You don't have to worry about anybody left or right. You make sure whatever your level best, do better than that every time. Every time. Every fucking time. Because there isn't a lot of time. Those, I would say, that kind of the preparation I see is lacking. Preparation is lacking. How much time did you spend before your set working on your set? Did you just go to TrackSource and download somebody else's playlist and then show up and play their playlist in front of me in a different order? No, you didn't. But did you go and listen to every damn song? Did you listen to 3 other songs in case that song doesn't work? So whatever hour set you was gonna play, you listened for at least 6 hours?
Yep.
Did you do that? And I'm talking about first note of the record till last note of the record before you showed up. Is there that kind of dedication? If there isn't, just know there's probably somebody gonna bust your ass who is. Just know. Somebody, oh, you didn't practice your bass line? There's somebody in the crowd like, I'm gonna get the job. Because next time I'm out, go bust their ass, because I've been practicing. It's that obsession. And that's what I find, you can't engineer obsession. Can't engineer it. It's either something you feel is worth your time to do or not. And it becomes self-evident. So those are the things I feel I'm missing.
Well, in terms of your commitment, or in this case, your obsession, we know your obsession to the vinyl record. Yeah. And, true. And it seems that you allow the vinyl to become a medium for you, not only to play it, but also to weave and tell stories.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm intrigued by the idea of, first of all, definitely the practicing, and your commitment. Theo even brought his beloved mixer. Do you have a name for the mixer?
It's just called an Isono. A friend of mine made it for me.
I would not dare to touch it tonight. And but the idea of a vinyl as a medium for you to practice listening.
Yes.
Tell us more about that. Is there lesser known stories that we don't know about your relationships with the vinyl itself?
Well, yeah, but no, I'm not. No, I mean it's you have to listen almost more than you play to really. Let me back up a little.
Sure.
When you're playing, when you have a knack or a want or a record collection that you feel you need to express or you love to play, wax. One of the requirements is listening time. You need moments to absorb things that you've bought, that you found, that you traded, that someone sent you. You just need more listening time for a couple of reasons. Integrity of the record itself, to make sure it tracks well and that there's no skips and scratches and things. Also, too, if you're production minded, to go through it and let it set in the subconscious of your mind. Put it on, go do something. Unconscious listening is just as good as conscious listening. Repetition, if you don't know it. Listen to it 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 18, 100 times, 1,400 times, as many times as you can before you have to present it, so that you know what that song does, what the song is and is not. And if it's not for you, put it in rotation, give it to a friend, put it online, sell it, take it back to the store. That's the beauty of wax, is that it recirculates, because there's no such thing as a bad record, it's just bad to you. Now, what there is such thing as a fucked up record, meaning that it's broken in some way, and so you can identify if something's wrong with it. So with the quality of the wax itself, maybe it's warped, maybe it's got a skip or some shit like that. But the listening time is a very important one. I say the ratio is up to you, but personally, I try to engineer as much listening as I can. I also breathe with my listening. If I know I'm playing a lot of places in succession, I don't listen in between most times. If someone gives me a new record while I'm on the road, I'm not listening to that till I'm at the crib. No way. Unless I feel super inspired at that moment. Like, that's the weird part. I can be mid-set and somebody give me a song right there. I might be like, if I'm in a place where I really haven't thought of anything to say at that moment, I might grab it and put it on right there. I might. But it all depends. I'd have to trust the person that's giving me the record, though. Like, if I don't know you, then I might not do that. But if I know you, I might go, I'm curious. But that's also risk. You have to be ready for risk. But listening is a big one. And I'll tell you a story about listening. There was a point where I was buying, like, every time I would go out to play a city, I would spend time going to the record stores and buy stuff, right? So it got to the point where by the time I was hitting the plane to go back home, and I wasn't making very much at the time, my records, my cost of records and getting them home was more than what I was making at the gig. So it was like, okay, this is getting out of hand, right? And so I get home, and there'd be whole section of my shelf was growing of records that I bought, but I didn't know what they sounded like, and I wasn't finding time to practice it, and I didn't even know I had certain records that I got. So it was getting to a point where I was going out and buying the same records that I had at home but hadn't listened to because I loved them. So it was this redundant process of not really having the time to sit the fuck down and listen. Listen to that shit. Listen to the music you have. Go shopping at home in your collection. Yeah. If you don't have the money, turn those records over. Most times, you're listening to one song on one cut, turn it over. Maybe you haven't grown into the rest of the songs. Now, if we're talking about digital files, that's a whole nother sport. Now we've got an infinite amount of things that you can find. I would say, to make it more poignant, talk to your friends that make things. If you don't make things yourself, select from those things. Hold those down. Everyone can grab those things that everybody can grab. Okay, great. We all know we can play the hits. What is specific about you specifically? What is good about your corner of the world, the people you know, and the things that you know that they're doing are interesting and revolutionary and may not get a voice? Because that's another challenge of the selector, is to expose the public to things they've never heard or understood before, and to challenge the people that they know creatively to do better. Hey man, I will play that, or I did play it, and you got to work on that bass line. We're scared to do that. Outside of work, oh, you're a hater. No, your record's shitty. but I'm trying to help you. Because I was going to play it. And I did try to, but your bass line's too loud. Can you turn it down? Well, that's just how my shit is. Okay. Like, these are the things that people do, and these are the people react. That's another thing I say is different within these times, is the egos of the creative, of the individually spirited group. You know, because we're not too many labels assigning people right now. So a lot of people are independent, but there's an ego attached to the independence that they can't stand critique.
Yeah.
We can't take being told that our stuff isn't amazing, that we're not all special snowflakes. Some of us aren't. Gasp. You know, and it's okay, because if I were to think that everything I did was dope, then that would be a high mistake. No. You know how many? Okay, my ratio was 12-4. For every 4 songs you hear that I might have guts to put out, there are 12 terrible things that you'll never hear from me. I might test them at a party to see if they work a little bit. But I haven't gained the confidence at that point to know that without a doubt those things are dope. So your ratio of output really means something. That, okay, that's dope. I've heard it this way and that way. But
I mean, out of the 4, will you be mindful to play one for us?
Sure. You mean right now?
For sure.
You want to hear a terrible one? Y'all want to hear one of my fucked up songs? No, you got to hear one of the good ones. Yeah, I don't play one of my bad ones. Nah, I'll play one. I'll play you guys one that I didn't have the confidence to put out, and yeah, I'll do that. And I still don't have the confidence to put it out. No, I'm not putting it out. I'm not playing it. No, fuck that. I'm not playing it. All right, now this is yeah. Hold on a second. All right, this is nutty, right? For the longest time, I liked the beginning of this track, right? And because of where I was emotionally, I thought I really need to put this out at the time. Then I had a whole moment where I was like, you know what, this is not it at all. And then by chance I was at a party and I accidentally played it and the room liked it. And so now I like it. And so this is what that is. Yeah. Oh, it's long as fuck, by the way. It's ridiculous. Yeah. We got 18 minutes and 43 seconds. You said it. Yeah. All right.
It has a mixing ratio of 2. I mean, you could also
Hated this song. It's fast. I don't do these kind of songs. All those things in your head. I'll be bored by this point. How come it's not moving faster? See, I used to put a foot in by here. This down here. I don't know. Inner dialogue of all the different negative things. Try to keep you all fucked up. But I'm missing the point, right? When you're already playing some music and it mix a little bit, and it's already going, this is pretty effective. Sitting up under whatever's going already. Sitting up under waiting on the crowd to jump on. But like, that was one of the so-called throwaways. Thank you. Yeah, but that's, you go through those little ego things and they start telling what you are and aren't and what you can and can't do and what's good and what isn't. And, I managed to play it at a party on accident and the people liked it. And I was like, maybe it's pretty good. So like, no matter how many songs you do, you still know everyone's subject to the same thing. You're still subject to self-doubt. It doesn't prevent you from going through that just because you've done it a bunch of times. Just because if you're still caring about it,
I mean, definitely you know that the crowd, the audience is expecting something based on their own personal experiences. And, just by listening the tune itself, the track itself, it seems that you also have a tension between your scientific mind, because we do know that you have a degree in fine arts, you have the methodologies, but, how would you connect that? How would you implement your emotions?
School is bullshit.
No, wait, true, right?
No, school's bullshit. And, like, I'll tell you what.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, man. No. There's no institute can tell you how to be creative. All it can do is go, okay, here's a skill set. You can use the skill set. If you decide to freak out and use that skill set a different way, now you've become creative, but school can't do it. Now, granted, school is a great way to make sure you don't die.
Okay.
Like, you could die fucking around not going to school. Because your parents might kill you, your family might kill you, and then you might kill yourself on the streets being homeless. So you don't want to do that. So whatever, I'm a big proponent of school, just to hide from life when you're young, but not much more than that. Once you've done hiding from life and you're young, find what it is you're interested in and Switch your courses to that. And then once you switch your courses to that, do something else that you're gonna eat until you get excellent at that. Because whatever you pick, no matter what it is, if you got it in school, somebody else has picked it and it's better than you. So now you're back at your talent and find your way in between your talent and your skill. So school is a complicated thing. It's not the solve all. What it is a salve. And it's expensive. It's expensive most times. So we have to be careful with calling people scientific because they went to school.
Okay. We can argue about that.
I just saved my life getting out of, like, really, I got a scholarship and I got the fuck out of Southside Chicago. That's what I did. Now, getting out of there, I was able to finagle and learn some shit and become something. And so becoming something had nothing to do with school. That just had to do with me having to go there to learn the most important thing is that if there's anything learned at school is this: how to manage your time when you wake up every day. That the world ain't gonna wait for your monkey ass to do whatever it is you think you wanna do. Get up and do that shit. Other people got shit to do. They're gonna be fucking around with you. So get up and go to get it and be who it is that you're supposed to be to do that. And get back to where you need to be. Get there, get it done, get back. It's about efficiency and really just a relationship with time more than anything. Just train.
Which comes to the second part of actually about the question is that how would you go about in, let's say, quantifying or quantizing, your emotions, love, pain, dreams, hope, nightmares into your art?
Well, that's what it's for. That's what expression is for. Expression is for the way that you deal with your emotional overload. I mean, I wouldn't suggest that you put too many of those things out, though.
Would you care enough that the audience would get it or not get it in terms of?
No, it doesn't matter if they get it or doesn't. What matters is whether or not you got it off your chest. Like, if we're talking about real emotional turmoil, if you're talking about pain, if you're talking about sadness, the negative ones. Happiness is easy to give to other people. Your darkest violence, like when you feel violence, do I want to give that to someone? No, I don't. I don't really want to give violence to people. But if I can express violence in a moment, record it, and enshroud it from people that it is violence, that's nice, but you might start a fight. Or then you might not. You might be able to shroud it. Because, all right, everybody know Bad Brains? Right? I got that PMA. That does not sound like what they're saying, like what HR is saying at all. That's he's snapping. That sounds like pure frustration turned Sonics. But he's saying, I got that PMA. I've got that positive mental attitude. Now, recently, there's a song I just recently did called PMA. And it's something having to do with that. I'll play that later.
For sure.
That is an expression of that, but that's an expression of something else. So yes, you can and you should put those things in it, but you can't let people determine the end of that emotional circuit, or you'll be in trouble. That burns artists out when they go, well, they didn't get me. Well, that's your fault from thinking that people that don't know you care about you. Because that's what you're asking someone that you don't know to do when you make a song and they don't get it and there's an expectation there. Like there's a responsibility you have to have as a creative being to know that your audience is not your mama and your daddy or your therapist. It's not their responsibility to complete your life. You have to be grown enough to know that, or childish enough to know that not everyone's going to hear your tears. Not everyone's going to, even if they could feel your pain, want to. Because guess what? They got their own. So maybe you want to find something that's a third party. Maybe it ain't necessarily your song, but maybe it's someone else's song that's not the audience's and not yours, that gives you that distance, that objectivity to be able to say, here you go. Now you're an minister. Now you have medicine. Now that's what a selector is. That's what that is. Now that's that fine line between, making your own shit and playing it for people when you're DJing, or playing other people's stuff. Because sometimes if your stuff is laden with those things, it becomes difficult. Like that one song Blaze did called "Wishing You Were Here." Oh my God. Whenever I play that, I think about my lost ones. Oh, it rips me up. Those are the ones I play for myself. And I play in moments where I know that like other people there, we've lost someone. Those are the moments like, yeah, we gonna go like this, we're gonna give each other a hug in that room real quick. That's what those songs are for. But to answer your question again, like, no, it's irresponsible to say, here you go, don't you? Hug me? No, that's not how it works. At least I don't think that's how it works. I could be wrong.
So I do believe that, among the member of the audiences, not only that they brought their prize records, their cherished books, concerning your ideologies, your ideals, your philosophy, but I do believe that a number of, the audience have, something to say to you, to voice something, to ask you something. So we're gonna make use of the, time, to open up, one or two comments, questions directly to you.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hi, how you doing? Firstly, I just like to sincerely thank you for everything that you do, which you do ever so consistently. Besides from your music, also the wisdom that you generously shared.
Oh, sorry.
One of that wisdom that still retains a monumental impact for me personally is the interview that you did with, I think, Electronic Beats TV from 12 years ago.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. Which I first discovered through Kid Funk's song, Two Sides. Yeah, that's how I really who is this and what is this interview? And then I watched the whole interview and I remember you said something along the lines of, everybody tend to forget about the records themselves and worry about the mixing. And that's more about the ego. And then you said about the selection part is that you refine the selection process through listening and then you present it to other people, right? But however, sometimes the reality is in certain places, the people who are willing to genuinely have that understanding and have that learning is the minority.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And when being a selector is your main profession, the dilemma is how do you balance honoring your mindset, your ideologies, with, meeting your needs for sustenance. So
that's a great question. It's a great question. It's a great question.
Another layer to that question is basically, do you always have that ideology or mindset from the first day you decide to be a selector? And again, how do you balance honoring your mindset with keeping your needs met? And do you still take shitty gigs that pay well?
You gotta take your shitty gigs. There's the gigs that feed you monetarily, and then there's the ones that feed you spiritually. Then there's the ones where you'll be understood fully as how you show up. Then the ones where you're performing a function. At the time that I did that, I was blessed to not have had to make a lot of those compromises at that point of that Beats interview, and what I've learned is what's nudged me back into getting more into the practice and the mastery is that the more skilled you are, even though it is an ego thing or can be seen as that, but the more skilled you are at putting these pieces of music together, the more opportunities you will have to play and be paid to play. And so the more opportunities that you have, it does this thing. You start to be able to know when to bring all of you, some of you, part of you, and none of you. And whether we like it or not, sometimes we got to do those none of you gigs where you showing up and you're like, all right. But when you do those things, that's when you have to be hyper businesslike. And you present a contract. You present your writer. You present everything how you imagine it to be, because at that point you're going to the dentist. So sometimes we got to go to the dentist. This is what I will do. This is what I won't do. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm not. I need bip, bop, bip, and bop. Thank you, transaction. That means you're completely professional. You're not telling your friends about it. You hope no money friends show up. You know, but those are real. Those are real. Those can save your life. Those will save your life. So what it is really is just repetition. Eat it, just eat it and do it. Yeah, sometimes you gotta eat it and do it, because it's the person you are inside doesn't change when you're beleaguered with the non-negotiable responsibilities that life throws in front of you. Those are non-negotiable. You still have to be yourself. And you're still yourself after you do those fucking gigs. Your records are not gonna unplay themselves and not mix them, be unmixable for you anymore after that. It's just that you just have to know what you're bringing. And to solve that sometimes is buy more records, more of a range. And so the things that you may not necessarily play at the gigs that you love to play, maybe those ones you play over there. Different sets for different moments and stuff. Yeah.
But how far you would let it go, until it eats you up?
Well, it depends. How much about getting paid? Do I gotta wear a hat? I don't know. It really comes down to your own levels of what it is that you find is within your character, and what you find is, and also how non-negotiable are those responsibilities? Because if you got some non-negotiables, they're gonna put you out. I was me though. Yeah, but now you're me on the street, or maybe you got kids. And how you gonna tell your kids, Daddy was an idealist? No. Daddy was an asshole to his kids because he was too childish to not compromise. So there's those things too, where you have to look at that. And it's a case by case basis. It's case by case basis. Like when you went too far. And often it's too late. That's the sad part. Like you're like, okay, I'll never do that again for that price. You know what I mean? That's what it is. That's what it is.
In terms of the rise of this platform of the internet, where a comment could become a dialogue. And then it was completely different as what you said before, that, when somebody appreciates you, your peers would dance for you, but now it seems that everybody has the say to not only comment, but scold you in terms of what their understanding of you and your art. How would you respond to that? Because I think,
I follow.
Well,
Your friends tolerate you. Your fans appreciate you. You have to find that distance of where it is and where it isn't. Familiarity breeds what's that? Exactly. Contempt. So if you're always around the people that you know and they know that you do that thing and they eye roll, no matter how good it is that you do your thing, they're still tired of you. You can't expect them to always want to hear your fucking song or to hear your new mix. because you're with them all the time. That doesn't mean they won't support you. It just means that it might be that much harder to make money off them and to occupy their time with your art. That maybe your art needs a venue, that maybe you need to push it towards people that don't know you at all. Maybe we get so scared of pushing our art towards people we don't know. We keep beating our friends and family in the head with this shit. All right, man, will you please go make it somewhere? Push this somewhere else. There's another person out there that hasn't heard it. Grow the guts to get it to them. That one more person in the room that don't know it, and get it to them. Because now you pushed your thing that much farther. You've thrown your boomerang farther.
So is that part of the philosophy or also the curation process of your reveal label, some signature? And not only in terms of, how would you open your doors to rising talents, new forms of sounds, but also to, push forward your idea.
Well, it's a thing. You can always tell where the obsessed live. You can tell where someone would otherwise do that if it weren't for, right? And so along life, when you're younger, you have less responsibilities. You can always be more absolute about what it is that you do because there's nothing or no one else depending on you. When you start to grow and go through life, sometimes we're blessed and not blessed at the same time to be very young with high responsibilities. That makes very, very serious people. You may find that later in life, they break free and break wild. And why are they doing that? They're too grown to act that way. That's because they were a child. They had to be grown up as a child. And so when you apply that same theory to people with creativity and shopping music or something like that, it's very easy to me to see if someone has the obsession needed to keep doing it or whether or not they're just a salesman. And then whether or not they're an obsessed person pretending to be a salesman in that moment because these songs, experience has taught me that these different places to be with your relationship with the creativity. So it's easy for me to recognize. Like I said, I'm a father too, and what I've learned along the way, the philosophy with my label. I believe essentially the same things I did, with the addition that now there's an asterisk that no matter what philosophical thing I put on the side of my records, I can't compromise the health and the development of my kids because of a philosophical stance I had when I had none. So once you have people that you don't necessarily have to have kids, you can be taking care of people that cannot be. You're taking care of people that can't take care of themselves, and so that can be your parents, that can be your brothers, that can be your friends. When someone is depending upon you, you've given up the right to be a selfish asshole. It's that simple. And if you can stand to be a selfish asshole and say fuck them, then you really shouldn't be making art. You're really not. You're missing the point of the humanity. And now, if you can find a way to be creative and do those things, and it isn't necessarily kids, but it's that, again, that sharing part. That essentially creativity is about that transfer point, that inner understanding, and then now empathy. So first is empathy and understanding of self, bravery to express, bravery to acknowledge it, bravery to refine it. Once we have the refining point, now we're sharing. If you can make it through all that process and at the same time care about yourself and other people, that sounds like someone. That sounds like that. Yeah, I want to meet that person. I want to hear what they got. But what else do they have to say? Let's give them a voice. Let's put them on a record. Let's see what are they doing. how much are they caring? Those things excite me. I get lucky sometimes to come across people like that. You know, I'm lucky to have a lot of people like that in my life. Right? That wasn't always the case, but now it's the case. Like I can look around at the people that I know and know that I'm dealing with some real people, and that's one of the places that you have to look at as a creative individual, no matter what your field is, and saying, okay, am I just promoting a bunch of dickheads? Like, are we dealing, or am I an asshole? Am I just an asshole? You know, am I just a mean-spirited, shitty dude who wants to just do what he wants to do, what she wants to do, and that's it? And every shitty, mean-spirited asshole has never been self-aware enough to know that. You know, everyone I've met has never had the self-awareness to understand that they're that fucking toxic. So again, we need coteries, we need critique sessions, we need to be able to tell each other, hey, that worked, that didn't, or hey, you're being a dick about this one thing or not. And that comes down to having good people around you, Because as creative individuals, there's something else. I'll play the devil's advocate. No matter how much you have dedication toward the people around you, that doesn't mean they're gonna give you the time to work on your craft. So you're gonna have to manage your fucking time ridiculously. You're gonna have to be brutal about it. Brutal. Be brutal to your kids and be brutal to your parents and be brutal to the people you care about. Say, look, I love you and I care about you, know it, but damn it, don't call me before fucking 5 unless it's an emergency. Don't bother me after 10 unless it's a fucking emergency. Because if I don't do this one thing from here to here, I'm not going to be able to give you the rest of the things that I know you need from me, that I know you won't survive without. Because we forget that as creative people, we don't do that thing, we're useless. I've never seen more of an excuse for self-bludgeoning and escapism and self-medication than creative individuals who don't get a chance to do. I mean, you see it all the time. Coping methods, shit. Hopefully the coping method is the expression. That's on a good day. That's on a good day.
It's an honor being able to speak to you directly.
Thanks,
Because you've been a big inspiration for my music also. But I still remember like the first time I watched you live set. It was in 2015. I think it was in Brooklyn. Analog Soul made the event. It was you and Analog Soul, and the fact that you played all vinyl set for 8 to 10 hours, vinyl only. Like my question is, like I always wonder, how did you prep, like in terms of like organize, and like did you bring all the crates to the event at this on the spot, and then you just pick and play the record on the spot, or you prepare it the day before? Yeah, how did you go about like because the selection is just like stable, and like when I watch it's crazy. Yeah, thank you,
man.
thank you.
Appreciate it. When I pick any, when I know I have a set coming up, one of the things I try to figure out from whoever's bringing me or whoever's asking me to come play is how long the set is. I try to find out at least almost, I don't know, a month to 2 months, sometimes 3 months before. I might start picking out records, depending on the set list, and also depending on my work week. I got a lot of different things. I got a lot of hats to wear. So what I try to engineer is as close to the time as it is for me to go play. I try to pick up until it's damn near time for me to go out the door, right? It's changed a little bit recently, but typically that's how I try to do it. So it might take me, let's say I got an 8-hour set. It might take me anywhere from, I don't know, 16 to 24 hours of continuous listening sometimes to get my set worked out before I bring it. So I'm distilling For every selection I make on the spot, 8-hour sets, I'm playing. I'm listening 24 hours to 36 hours, 30 hours worth of songs before I get out there. And I may listen to all the way through them or some of them, but I'm bouncing through them boys. The ones that I haven't heard for a while, I'm definitely going back again, listening to it again. And so once I got them all picked out, then I got to get them in the boxes. So then I'm making the hard selections. Okay, so what's the, I call it the resonance check. So now I'm resonance checking everything. And so, okay, that's got the resonance. Yeah. So then when I get to the set, I'm distilling it on the spot. So I'm literally one feeds the next, the 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 feeds the next. And then I might have different bright moments and go, okay, when do I get to that thing and that thing? Because then I might call those my little jump ramps, or when I pop a wheelie or something. Because I know it might be that special thing that I play that I hope's gonna work. Because I like to scare myself. I like to do something that I don't think I could pull off, or something I think will fucking fail. Like I like the idea of doing something that could fail, because why the fuck not? What are we doing this for if we're not gonna, do some shit that no one's ever heard of before, or something that there's too much boredom, there's too much safety, and I think that's my. I'll go back to this. That's my biggest issue with being a quote unquote fucking DJ. Is that never before has it gotten this damn easy just to press the quantize button and let it run. So where are your guts? And not necessarily y'all's guts, mine. That's what I ask myself all the time. I get scared. Okay, let me just play 120 all night long, and then it's just it. Let me just play the known cuts that I know, and ain't none ones I know work. And now I'm wasting everybody's time. That's not my thing. So like I said, about for every 8-hour set, 3 times that amount, I'm listening to it home before, and usually right up to the moment it's time to hit out the door. Then right on the spot, I'm distilling it right there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
You gotta get it.
Yo. Firstly, shout out No Quantize. Right there.
Yeah, right. Yes, no quantize, but
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on Facta's question. Amazing question. I really loved that. Where she talked about gigs where you kind of give less and less of yourself, and the balance of those gigs. If it's like, I think obviously living out here is like, it's such a tourist driven place, and it's like a lot of the parties we play, we feel maybe that we don't get to give ourselves to the audience, or they don't want to receive it. And it's like, you said about like some of them you just have to go in and that's it is what it is. But like, I guess like I'd like to know your input on, or like your thoughts on, if there is no parties where you feel like you can give your full self. Obviously you have to create it yourself, right? So like, have you had any times where it's like, you need to just like build it yourself?
Absolutely. It happens more often than not. You try your best to set things up so that where you're being invited, you're appreciated and not tolerated, but that ain't always the case. And so the moments that you have there, that's where variety comes in. Because I'm of the opinion, you can crack just about any crowd. You just did you bring the right fucking records to do it? Did you bring the right damn songs to crack their ass so that they stay? Because the goal is to get them all moving and to keep them moving. We can't do that thing where we go, oh, they're corny, so no. We can't do that. They're humans. They don't fucking know. So we got to give them something that, how do you crack their head with something? So it could be tempo, texture, it could be instrumental, vocal, non-vocal, it could be mood. Have we brought enough of a variety? And in that maybe 10 to 12 song variety of things that might work, could work, definitely would in your mind, right? Before you get to the spot. From there, have a descending gear like a 10-speed bike. So if you got like 5 to 10 songs that you know are just gonna god doggone work because they're just work. Don't be afraid to play those so-called corny songs, but find things that are not corny to work with those corny songs so that you fooled these corny motherfuckers into getting there with it. And now you're dragging them along. You might get them for 10, 15 records before they realize that they are in the hands of a master. You might get them. You might can get them. And that's had to happen for time. That's how you end up with like the craziest things happen. Like you end up playing like, I don't know, you end up playing Ron Trent at a wedding. You're like, how the hell did this work? You know, they cha-cha slide in the altar space, and you're gonna what? Like that, it can happen. You know, it can happen. You can't give up on people you don't know, and you can't judge your party before you get there either. That's another one.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening, man.
Thank you again so much, bro, for being here.
No worries.
This is a much more casual question than
Sure.
the previous ones. Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, just speaking not just like as a DJ but just as a fan of like overall the music scene and being on the dance floor and everything.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the type who would go out of my way to catch artists that I love
Yeah.
or that I'm curious about.
Mhm.
I guess I'm just wondering, for you as a selector of your caliber and you know your OG status in such a way.
Oh, hold on.
I mean, how do you go about like seeking new inspiration for yourself? Like, do you go catch shows? Do you
Man, Instagram, baby.
for real?
Instagram, man. Reels rock, man. People hit you with the stupidest shit you ever heard in your life, and then you repeat it to other people. It's great.
That's honestly like how I go about stuff too.
Nah, man, find some stupid shit and then let it get in your brain, and then go read a fucking book. You know what I mean? Like no, man. Like I love Instagram Reels because it shows me that I'm just as average as everybody else, right? Because we can get into a real bag, we think we're somebody and all that shit. And so when you realize you're just as susceptible to the programming of your ego and the algorithms and things like that, it can bring you back to something else. Put the fucking phone down, go read a book. There's plenty of inspiration every motherfucking where. Hear a song you never heard before, go see a sunset, go look at some birds, talk to your mama. There's inspiration everywhere. And like the easiest way to get inspired or even be entertained is these little devices. So every once in a while, there's some people say some cool shit on there, but just realize that's a computer fucking with your mind. And like, put that shit down, get out the house, go for a walk, talk on the phone, interact with people, places, things on this planet, and if not information, real information. Go to a fucking library, go to a bookstore, pick up some shit somebody said, not on the fucking phone. You know, just find somebody smarter than you and ask them what the fuck is going on. You know, like, and there's no, it has to be circular to your life. Because it doesn't matter coming from Theo said, go do this. No, it has to be somebody special to you or somebody who has an impact in your circle. Like that's poignant. And you say, ask somebody who you think wouldn't read. What have you read? What would you suggest I do? Or somebody that you can't stand, you know, tell them to go read something. You know, like you find a lot of inspiration coming and going. Like correct goofy motherfuckers, you know, in your life. Correct them. You know, an asshole, tell them not to be one. Your sister smoking, stop smoking. You know, crumple up a cigarette, let it smack you. You know, some shit like that.
I guess I'm also just curious, like, to know if you know, if Theo Parrish would go out of his way to catch for a show.
Oh, you mean like that? You mean directly? All right, I'm playing with
Straight
you.
up,
No.
yeah.
No, okay, no, I would I would go check. It's kind of nepotism. I would go see Spectre. Spectre's fucking dope. He's my favorite DJ.
Oh,
Yes, he is. It's just what it is. He's dope. He has guts. He's guts, and he's extra clean. Like he's so clean in his guts. So and he's just an all around good dude. In terms of a DJ, I'll go check him out.
Instagram, bro.
Yeah, it's rocks. It's the best.
Thank you.
Rely on the algorithms, huh? Honest, silakan.
Music become like powerful tools.
Yes.
Do you believe music still become tools for humanity?
For humanity? Yes, absolutely. It has to. It has to.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said just by now about finding inspirations, reading, and I know that we know that you're an avid writer. You already published the book, and I read that you made for me at least a really powerful and intriguing statement. So Theo wrote that on one hand you wrote that no sound is wrong. No sound is too elusive to escape arrangement, one signature.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But before that, you also wrote that this comes in line what Honest just mentioned, and even more powerful that when music and dancing are police, we know that it is indeed powerful. So this idea seems to speak to both not only the boundless creativity that comes with the music, but its capacity to challenge and also threaten establishments.
That's right. That's right.
So in that case, how do you see these, interrelated concepts, complement and, can be something that we keep on holding and trust?
Well, we have to trust it. If we're trusting in humans and we're trusting in the human condition and we're trusting in that expression, we can also trust that there's always going to be systems that try to compress people. So in the same places that you need that to drive outward and you need to communicate with someone, right? There's always going to be systematic ideas of controlling people that are going to run current. So it's stasis. That won't do that unless that is doing that. So as long as we're reflecting off of each other constantly, right? There's always going to be tension on top of that trying to capitalize on that, right? That's how all the isms are built. That's how governments are built. That's how all these things are built. These things are built that way because it's overdone. This will always be able to balance itself. When we get into different nations with different geographies and different languages and different economies and different types of people, now we're talking about power imbalances. Now we're talking about not everybody believing or knowing the same thing. Now belief is very different than knowing. Knowing is personal. It's personal. It's upfront. You don't have to believe in something that you already know. It's evident. It touches you already. When you deal with belief, it's a scary thing because then belief means that it can be manipulated by things outside the one and the two. The one and the two know each other already. The belief is the one that says you're suspending the knowing. Now, there's nothing wrong with belief, but I would say that it's better to know than it is to believe. So if you say, I believe in God, yeah, but do you know God? Do you know music? Do you believe in music? Do you know love? Do you believe in love? So there's always going to be systematic things on top of that to try to govern things that are that basic and that energetic is water and the elements. I mean, these things This is the constant tension of the modern world. The thing that governs us most, it's not going to come from other men. It's going to come from our pocket. Self-govern, self-check. You want freedom? Throw this away. But we need it, right? It's a motherfucker. It's a motherfucker. Yeah.
But we do come in a situation that now that we expand our caring, we expand our, trials and tribulations, the others.
Yeah.
You've been, in this situation when, it is embedded in us to fight oppression, to show our cultural identity. And how far can we push music as not only as a cultural movement, but as a social movement that matters for the world right now?
Matters for the world right now is what the issue is. Because it's not necessarily easy, but those things that you said becomes an extension of something else. That becomes an extension of your humanity. What you said up until the point of that the world. Because now again, we're asking people outside the conversation with different geography, different this, different perceptions, different ways of looking at your ideals and your connections in sometimes a predatory way. And so maybe if they could see it as important, it's not to their advantage to do so. So that's where we run into a bit of an issue. And that's where we run into that difference between believing and knowing. Because once you know, if you're in knowing, then it becomes a strength that doesn't necessarily, that can elude control. It can elude those things. But if you say, I believe, I got my flag, flags can be burned. But if you put the flag down, oh, your kids got it, the generations got it, everybody's moving in unison with it, but that's the difficulty. Because most people love symbols. And a flag is a symbol. What does a flag represent when you think of it? What does a flag mean? The colors mean XYZ. Yes. Who holds it means XYZ. But that is really, that's what that is built on. So we run into complicated things. We have to, that's the beauty of me being here too. And the beauty of you being anywhere is to confront or to challenge, and maybe a challenge ain't challenge a hug. Challenge is a hug. To keep what it is that you have, but then somehow go other places with it and keep it intact. I mean, it's not going to be easy, or the easiest, but it can be done. And that it changes minds. It changes minds. Like those are the revolutionary acts. Revolutionary acts are very localized these days.
I do believe that we don't necessarily have to be, conversing.
Oh no.
In a way that I like the idea that, when a talk allows us to challenge ourselves.
Oh, of course.
And thank you for that. And, we do still have plenty of time, to mingle, to know you personally. And I would like to dedicate the time, remaining time, to allow for, you to play one or more two songs. And then with that, we're going to conclude the night. Okay. Because I do believe that this number of the audience want to speak directly to you, to show again, to get the token of appreciation, of being such a dedicated devotee, not necessarily to you, but to what you present in your arts. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, once again, thank you, all of you, for your patience, for your passion, for being here. And then, with that, definitely we want to, convey our sincere gratitude to you. In Bali, we would say, Matur Suksma. We render our heart to you in its entirety. And, yeah. And I would love, we would love to, continue this with, with the music, and we wish you well. And for all of us, once again, a round of applause for everyone. As Theo mentioned before, keep the love, keep the peace, understanding, and caring.
Oh man, thank you, man.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it, man. Thank you guys so much for having me here. And like, this conversation, this atmosphere, you guys' energy, personalities, the questions, man. It was dope.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Play another jam. All right, we'll play a jam. All right, this is kind of crazy. This is something I made just for for playing. You might recognize it's like an acapella that goes over a beat track that I did, and I changed the beat track just for the acapella. This is a lesson I learned. You asked about a compromise, right? I recently did a party with a legend in my hometown, and he told me before I got there wasn't gonna be any turntables. Yeah, and I was heartbroken, but I loaded up. I ripped up a bunch of chipsticks, and I went over there, and the chipsticks didn't work, and it was embarrassing. And I vowed to never do that again. This is one of the special things I made to play with this amazing person, and here it is. I didn't get a chance to